Sunday morning cold, eyes on the score, touchdown dance ball, craving for more. Friends are calling, trades are on fire. Rookies falling, championship desire. Fantasy football fever, chasing the dream. Top of the leaderboard, we're the winning team.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Healers Podcast, a show that is Dynasty Fantasy Football, now infused by the fantasyholics.com. That's right, Fantasyholics. You can find them at FantasyHolics1 on Twitter. You can find me at FF Healers, and you can find our co-host Colten Palmer at FF Captain 22 on Twitter X. Welcome in, everybody.
Welcome in, guys. I'm back after a week off. I had to go to Colorado for a wedding, and me and my buddy decided to go skiing. So we made a nice 14-hour drive there and 14-hour drive back within like 3 days.
Wow.
Not fun. I don't recommend. 10 out of 10.
It's a long drive.
It is. We were in it for the long haul. Luckily he's a longtime friend of mine, so we got some good quality time. Plenty of it. I doubt if we'll see each other for a while now.
Well, today is going to be a special podcast. We are going to do a mock draft pre-combine. And so this is Wednesday, February 25th. We're doing this mock draft, super flex mock draft, a couple days before we see some of these athletic prospects come about. Colten, are you getting excited for the combine?
Definitely excited for the combine. I'm antsy to get more information on some of these guys because right now I'm lacking a lot of it. It's just a lot of watching the footage and everything, which haven't dove into 100% yet. Just kind of been watching the highlights. So it'll be definitely interesting to get some more numbers on these guys.
I'm most excited about Friday because you know what Friday is going to bring. It's going to bring 27 tight ends, the most tight ends that have been in the combine in a number of years. And last year I was at the combine. I remember seeing the quarterback, Matt Corral, throwing the ball to these tight ends. And I remember watching this on the Friday and on the Saturday, and I'm like, you know what? Matt Corral looks better than any of these quarterback prospects last year. So I'm hoping that we have a better quarterback play on Saturday when we actually see all these quarterbacks. I'd like to see some of the athleticism show their features. And if you recall last year, we ended up seeing Tyler Shuck end up running the 40, and he really got the crowd going. And he didn't, unfortunately, get a lot of people excited in fantasy football, at least in the rookie drafts. But he did show some skills, and he's looking like the starter for the Saints going forward.
Yeah, I was one of those people, man. I believe my exact word was Tyler Schmuck. I'm eating my words there on that one because he could be the guy there. We'll find out this season. I think they give him the chance to kind of hang on to everything this year and see kind of what they've got, see if he can carry it throughout a whole season. So we'll see what he's got there. He could definitely be an interesting kind of trade for target for some super flex leagues because I think there's still a lot of people down on him.
Yep, and I think if you watched the last podcast, I showed some excitement for Talon Green and for Cole Payton. Both are athletic, but their arms don't really show off. And so, unfortunately, the combine generally doesn't show off a lot of the dual threat ability because they're trying to show off their skills in regards to, can they throw, to the middle of the field? Can they throw the deep ball? How is their accuracy? And, we'll see what these players can do. But those are the two quarterbacks that I really want to see. And Nussmeier, he showed really well in the Senior Bowl, and we'll see what he has also. Are there any of these are there any of these quarterbacks that you prefer before we get into this mock draft?
Unfortunately, no. This is a weaker quarterback draft class, similar to to last year, where we're just left with wanting more. Is kind of where I'm leaving it at for right now.
And more you will get. We're going to have 24 more players to talk about here in just a moment. Let's get her started. We are ready to go, Colten. At the 101. This is a toughie, Colten. I'm going to have to go with Jeremiah Love.
Man, what a difficult choice for you to have to make about that. I am extremely jealous of anyone that has the 101 right now because he's kind of the easiest pick. I mean, there's really not much to say.
And this is super flex. And Colten, would you pick anybody outside of Jeremiah Love if this was a 2-quarterback draft?
Not even close. I would still go with Jeremiah Love. He's just absolutely elite. He is an absolute elite running back coming out of college, and we're starting to see the running back class kind of gain some more power as there's not many of these elite guys, and so they hold a lot of value. I mean, they easily leave the league earlier, but at the same time, I would much rather have the points from that running back position there.
That was an easy one. I'm curious to see where you go here at the 102. Colton's going to be drafting the evens. I'm going to be drafting the odds.
This was kind of an easy pick for me. He's right now my favorite wide receiver coming off the board. I am not going quarterback, but it's Carnell Tate. I really like Carnell Tate a lot. He is a great route runner, which is what I really like to see in guys. I mean, I know I've confessed my love many times for Ladd McConkey on this podcast, and he is an elite route runner. And that's what I like to see is guys that can get open to get the ball into their hands. And I think that's what's going to truly make a difference here in the NFL, and why I think Carnell Tate is the best wide receiver out of this class.
I initially had Carnell Tate as my wide receiver 1. I recently changed it to Mekhi Lemon, and mainly because I think that he had a stronger route tree, and Carnell Tate had a lot of 50-50 balls, contested catches, and some of that comes back down to the quarterback play. And granted, Carnell Tate, he could contort his body in many ways in order to make a ton of plays. But I'm going to go here at the 1-3 with my wide receiver 1 at this current time, and that's going to be Mekhi Lemon of USC, 5'11", 190 pounds. And again, he's projected to be a slot receiver, but he can play all across the field. And this past year, he did get the Biletnikoff Award for top receiver in the country. He has yak ability, his contact balance, and some spatial awareness. And so this is a player that I'm really excited to get here at the 103.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I also really like Mekhi Lemon a lot. It's nothing really against him. I think he's definitely he's seen more as like the yak guy. Get the ball into his hand, he's kind of make stuff happen, which my guy last year was the yak guy. Being Luther Burden, prior to the draft. So interesting how this could shake out to see if the yak guy or the route running guy makes it this year. So definitely be interesting to see how that kind of shakes out. I'm going to go with here once again, another wide receiver coming off the board. And this guy's on a lot of people I know's big boards, like their favorite wide receiver, but it's Jordan Tyson. I mean, he is a vertical threat. He really is good at stretching the fields, but he's shown some interesting tape there out of Arizona State, and there's whispers that he could be going top 10 in the NFL. So a wide receiver with some of that draft capital is someone I definitely want. So at the 1-4, I'm going to go Jordan Tyson.
And Colton, you bring up a great point here about who are we targeting here in the first round of our rookie drafts. We're targeting receivers that are drafted in the first round. I mean, obviously, running backs that are drafted in the first round. I think it gets a little bit tougher as we get later on into the end of the first round. But if we can get receivers that are drafted in at least the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft, or at least where they projected, that's going to make for a better dynasty pick. And it's going to provide a lot of safety when you're making these picks. And so my top 3 wide receivers are gone, and I really don't think that there's another running back that's picked in the first round. I think there's a chance there's another wide receiver, maybe 2 that are drafted here at the end of the first, beginning of the second round. But I'm going to go with somebody of a little bit safer, and that's going to be Fernando Mendoza here at the 105. And the point is taken, like, he's easily the number 1 quarterback that's on the board. He's projected to be drafted the number 1 pick to the Raiders. I don't care much for the spot, but if he does get picked by the Raiders, you expect them to use their early second round pick to get maybe one of these wide receivers that I'm thinking about to help fill the huge need that is the Raiders offense. And he's going to have a lot of insulation in regards to starting. So he's going to have a lot of reps under him with the Raiders. He's going to have a number of years to really show off his skills. And we've seen it here in the NFL, like quarterbacks, they're insulated. And so even Cam Ward, who wasn't that successful last year, still has insulation with the value that you drafted him in last year's rookie draft. So I think Fernando Mendoza here at the 105 feels like kind of like a steal.
Yeah, he's definitely a steal there. The only thing I have truly going against Fernando Mendoza right now is the fact that he's just kind of morely seen as like a pocket passer. He was a big kind of game manager there at Indiana, and we did see him be able to put on some wheels there in the national championship. He actually did rush a little bit more. For the most part, though, he's not known as a superpower of mobile or moving a whole lot. But for dynasty, or for fantasy football, that's kind of what we're looking for, is a little bit more. But to get a quarterback that's probably going to be taken 101 at the 105 in a dynasty, you just got to take the value at that point.
Heard people comparing him to like a Jared Goff. And if you've had Jared Goff over the last 5 years, you've been pretty happy with having him in a Superflex league. He provides a lot of safety for your team, and he makes for a pretty good number 2 or number 3 quarterback on your roster.
Definitely. Well, here at the 106, I'm probably going to cause a little bit of splash here. You might be able to tell a theme that's kind of building up here in my drafting process, but I'm going another wide receiver. And I'm going to go with Casey Concepcion out of Texas A&M. I just really kind of like what he can do. He's just been incredibly versatile in what I've seen, and he's kind of been slowly climbing my boards. And I think this is kind of where I see him. He's just like a gadget guy that they trust to get the ball into his hands. And I just absolutely love wide receivers like that. And depending on where he goes, now this is pre-draft. It's pre-draft, so depending on where he goes,
right? We don't know the landing spot.
This is who I'm going to go with.
I like that pick a lot there, Colton. He is currently my number 4 wide receiver, and he was going to be the guy that I was going to pick next. So good job getting him there. You got him at the 6. I was going to take him at the 7.
7, 6, 7, 6, 7.
And now I've got to pivot. And so now do I go with my next wide receiver, or do I go like maybe back to the well at the running back position? And I think that's exactly where I'm going to go. I don't care for a lot of these quarterbacks here at the back of the first round, even early second round, maybe even late second round. So spoiler alert, outside of Mendoza, I'm really not thinking quarterback right now. Do I go with my number 1 tight end? Boy, I think that's pretty early. I'm generally a guy that likes to draft tight ends, in the 3rd round, trying to get a little bit of value. Tight ends don't have a lot of insulation when it comes to dynasty. Even like Kyle Pitts, when he was drafted really early at the 101, 102, had a 1,000-yard rookie season, had like a 1 touchdown, and then he just kind of completely dropped off. And trying to get that value back can be suffocating. And so I'm going to look at my stats here, and I am going to go with my RB2, and that is going to be Jadarian Price out of Notre Dame, 5'10", 203 pounds. And I think, a lot of people have him in like their top 5 for the running backs. And again, the running back class is not fantastic either, Colton. But I feel like he has a lot of dynamism in there. He can be a great punt returner, kick returner, good running back. He didn't have a lot of receptions, but he was playing in the same backfield as Jeremiah Love. And so who are you going to throw the ball to? You're going to throw it to Love, and you're not going to give it to Price. So I feel like there's kind of like, what's in the box, and that's kind of what I want. I want to see if there's a boat in there, Colton, and I feel
Be a
like
boat.
Price could be that guy.
I do like it. Price is actually not my second running back on the board.
The price isn't right.
The price, I don't mind the pick because it is kind of a toss up between these two. And I'm gonna actually go with my guy now, so I'll touch on both of them here. But mine's actually Jonah Coleman, running back out of Washington. He's a bigger bodied back, big bodied back, like those big body backs. But he's a bigger guy that I could see coming into a team, and he could absolutely be a 3-down guy, and he can kind of do it all with the first 3 downs, and like somebody that can take that punishment and a beating, something that a team's looking for. Jadarian Price does kind of have the more explosiveness and everything, but I don't know. Both of them there's kind of a toss up, but as of right now, the tie goes to Jonah Coleman for me, but I do like both of them.
It is already getting tough for me to make my decision here, and it's only the 109 Colton. I feel like we're getting closer to a point where it's kind of like just pick your guys. And, there's a couple wide receivers that I still have in my mind that might make it to the end of the first round, beginning of the second round in the NFL draft. And it's just a matter of, do I want to take a shot with one of those players, or do I want to take a shot on some of these remaining running backs that are probably looking at like third round of the NFL draft? Or again, do I want to make that jump to the tight end position? And Colton, I think I'm going to go with Omar Cooper Jr. of Indiana. And he's the 6 foot, 200-pound wide receiver from Indiana, and he's played really well over the last couple of years. And I'm starting to like him more and more. The more I listen to him, the more I hear things about him. Again, he's got that yak ability. He's got missed tackles force was number 2 in the league last year, just behind a guy that I never heard of, Eric McAllister of TCU. He was number 1. And he had some production there even in 2024. And everyone keeps saying that, Omar and Elijah Surratt had kind of switched roles this past year. So I feel like there's some versatility there. And I think I'll take my shot on Omar Cooper. I think the NFL is going to like him.
Man, that was a shock to me. Cooper's been so far projected going kind of second round dynasty, but sometimes you just got to call your shot, man. Especially like, I'll just say it now. I have not been so far the biggest fan of this draft class. So when you said it's already getting tough at the 1-9 here, you are 100% correct. Like, this is the time that, where it's like, just pick your guy. There's no particular order you have to pick these people in, just because, hey, this guy's, projected to go more mid-second. If you think he's going to be good, go for it. Why not? I mean, at this point, the numbers are probably pretty similar with this draft class. So with that, I'm going to continue on to the 110. And unlike you, I am not afraid to go for these tight ends in the first round. So I will be going for Kenyon Sadiq, tight end out of Oregon. He is the tight end 1 of the draft class. This is a much, much worse draft class for tight ends, as we saw last year, where we had a lot of really good tight ends coming out. It is going to artificially raise his value here to get him in the first round, but he does have some athleticism. He can absolutely stretch the field, and he did there in Oregon. If you're going to take your shot, you got to kind of do it at this point anyways, because this is kind of where he's been projected going, is end of the first round here. I know I saw your face. You don't like tight ends in the first round. You hate it. It kills you to see it.
It's not that I don't like. I don't like this particular tight end.
There's another one in the back pocket.
I'm more excited that you took him, and I knew that you were going to take him before me because he was going to drop a long ways in my book. And I think Kenyon Sadiq keeps getting talked up, and I just don't see it, Colton. He's not a player that I'm excited about. And I'm going to run to the podium, and I'm going to get the other Indiana wide receiver in Elijah Surratt. And again, a guy that really showed a lot this year. Basically, I got two NCAA champions right there in the last two picks. You can't beat that, Colton. And I can match him up with my quarterback. Got all three. Look at me, my Indiana boys.
You're just rebuilding the national championship team, huh?
Hey, it worked for LSU.
You're not wrong. Well, with the closing of the first round, I'm gonna have to pick somebody that's projected to go more towards the mid first, and I'm just taking a shot on kind of what I've been hearing about this player. Typically, these taller wide receivers don't work out as well. He's 6'4", but that's Denzel Boston out of Washington. He's been projected going mid first, so him falling here to the end of the first, just taking the shot, especially for the fact that a lot of people are kind of projecting him to be a first round wide receiver or early second. So sometimes you got to just shoot your shot, like I said earlier, and I'll take him here at the 112.
Denzel Boston. Oh boy, I got the 201 here, Colton. And you know what? The first round still went by pretty quick. There's still a lot of players that I think a lot of fantasy football players at least know their names. They're starting to get familiar with some of these players. We're going to see a lot of them, compete in this year's NFL Combine this coming weekend. And a player that I'm still a bit excited for, he's a guy I keep moving around in my top 4 at the running back position, is going to be Emmett Johnson. And so getting Emmett Johnson here at the 2-1 gets me a little excited. Again, he's a guy that I think is probably going to be a third round NFL draft pick. I'm starting to shoot my shot here because I feel like the wide receivers that we've chosen so far are probably going to be the receivers that are getting drafted in the top 50 in the NFL draft. And at this point, I can kind of take my shot and try and go for a little bit more upside. And I'm going to take Johnson. Emmett Johnson.
All right. Well, I actually really like that pick because Emmett Johnson has been actually climbing my boards after kind of more and more I hear about him. So I really like that. So I'm going to have to go ahead and pivot here and kind of switch up.
You like that?
I do like that. So I'm going to have to switch up here. I am going to have to go to a different running back, and people might just find me crazy for this one because everybody's projecting his teammate to be above him. But
here we go.
I'm going Colten Allen.
Knew it.
I just kind of watched some of his film the other day, just what was released on Twitter. He just has such good vision in my mind. And that's kind of what a lot of people are saying, is that he might be the better pro back rather than college back just due to his vision alone. And you can kind of really see him just find the holes and then break through them. And so I really like that aspect about his game. And I think he could absolutely have an opportunity there in the NFL, just depending on where he lands and everything. So Colten Allen.
That's
a cool name. Cool name.
Cool pick. And yes, he's definitely been competitive there at Penn State. Colten Allen, he's kind of that hard-nosed downhill runner. And the other running back that's at Penn State, he just can't seem to stay healthy. In fact, he had broke his foot at the Senior Bowl practice here in January, and that's going to affect his draft stock. Let's face it. And that other running back does have a little bit more like receiving upside, but I have those two Penn State running backs back to back in my running back rankings at this point in time. But I'm not going with that other running back here, Colton, at the 203. I'm going to go with my tight end 1, Eli Stowers.
You turd. I thought I had more time.
Vanderbilt. Oh man, this guy, I love Eli Stowers. Last year I was really in on him. At first I was upset that he went back to play for Vanderbilt. And then it was like, you know what? I wrote down that I even wrote in my notes, I'm like, raw tight end. This guy needs some time to develop. He goes back. He develops very well. He has the number 1 yards per reception in the class at 2.56. And he has a huge amount of yak. You know, I'd like to see how he does this weekend on Friday with his blocking and his route running, and just kind of see where he kind of sits and how his body mechanics are. Famously, last year I was watching some of the mechanics of some of the tight ends, and I thought that Gadsden had some really weird running mechanics. And I remember making a note on that, and you know, I was wrong, and I was glad that I scooped him up in a place or two, and he turned out to be a really good dynasty fantasy football pickup. But my eyes fooled me last year, and I don't know if it was the gauntlet. It probably was the gauntlet. It tricks me every year. I like a nice smooth gauntlet, and you know, if only there was about 10 footballs being thrown at a time on the football field, it would have mattered.
You know, a lot of people didn't like Harold Fannon's running style either, and I think he turned out all right too. So, you know, but yeah, that gauntlet, man. If they got 10 balls being thrown their way that they got to catch real quick, it would be a telltale sign of the real NFL. But we'll find out here coming up this weekend about the how much it doesn't actually matter at the combine.
Isn't it ironic? Don't you think?
We're going to go on to my next pick here at the 204. This one was kind of an easier one for me. I, like myself, a person that can get the ball into their hands and just kind of make things happen. You know, I could see this guy kind of being similar to a Deebo Samuel-esque player.
Oh
And
no,
that's Chris.
you're already burying him, Colton.
I know. Every time someone gets compared to Deebo, they just don't pan out. But
Oh no, I already know you're picking too, but keep
who
going.
is it? Is it Chris Bell out of Louisville?
That's not who I thought you were. Who you
Ooh,
were thinking. That's who I was considering for my next pick.
I like Chris Bell a lot. I mean, he's just an angry runner. He can absolutely just dominate players, and you know, he'd be a great possession receiver. So PPR leagues and leagues that they can just if he can get on the right team that'll use them right way, I think he could be a fantastic pick for a team to go and just kind of dominate, you know, with the ball in his hand.
Completely. Now I don't even know if I want him anymore. With you saying that he's Debo Samuel type, every single
Soiled it.
year we hear some Debo Samuel like hype of some of these players, and every single year these players get completely buried. They lose all their value. You might draft them in the middle of the second round here, and then you never hear from them again.
Does anyone remember Malachi Corley?
That's exactly who I was thinking.
Oops.
Oh man,
Oops.
Colton. Oh, all right,
My bad.
all right.
I ruined it.
No, that's not the guy I was thinking that you were going to pick. I was hoping you were picking the other guy I was thinking, and that was a guy I wasn't really considering here at the 2-5. Now I've got to go back to the well and kind of look and see, what does my team need? Is anyone excited about maybe trading up for any of these players? You know, maybe a quarterback needy team wants to take a shot on, you know, who they think is their QB2, or I don't foresee anybody trying to jump up to get another tight end here. I think the wide receivers are starting to kind of go a little flat. The next wide receiver that I actually have in my draft order, do I want him? Colton, this is looking pretty ugly here, and we're not even all the way into the middle of the second round. But I think I will take my shot on Skylar Bell out of UConn. And, you know, one thing we didn't talk about with Chris Bell was the ACL injury. He had the late year ACL injury, kind of like Jameson Williams did. Jameson Williams, he got drafted in the first round of the NFL, if I recall, but he also sat pretty much his entire first year as a rookie. And I mean, you may have to wait a whole year on Chris Bell, and that's just kind of the risk that you got to take here with Chris Bell at the 2-4. But again, you're drafting him here in the middle of the second round. I'm just going Hell's Bells here, Bell, and I'm going to stick with Skylar Bell out of UConn.
Back-to-back Bell.
But
All
which one's
right.
the bell of the ball?
I don't know. We'll have to wait maybe a year to find out. We do.
I'll know right away whether to hold on to my player or to
We
toss
do
him
have
away.
We do have to remember that this is a super flex draft. So that means you can play an extra quarterback if you want. But I'm gonna go ahead and reach into the old quarterback bag here, and somebody that has some fantasy football upside. It's once again we're talking to me about a rushing quarterback, one that can move, not throw the ball super well, but maybe it'll work. It's better than drafting him in the first round and him killing your hopes and dreams. But that's Ty Simpson. Has some rushing upside. It's once again like a Jalen Milroe, Anthony Richardson-esque kind of player. Has the rushing upside, but man, these rushing quarterbacks that don't have the accuracy have proven not to be super great. But once again, we're throwing darts at this point anyways. Why not throw the dart at the quarterback position here?
Yeah, as much as I don't care much for Ty Simpson, I think this provides value here. This is about the range where Penix was drafted, the year that we did our rookie draft when Penix was available, right at that 203 to 205, 206 range. And you know what? He ended up accumulating some value because he started to show some of his skills in the NFL. And, all you need is a flash from Ty Simpson, and that middle second round pick turns into a first if you were to move on from him. So I think that was a great value pick there at the 2-6, again, halfway through the second round. I don't have that luxury here at the 2-7 to get another quarterback. I'm waiting. And I think this is a fine pick to take a little bit more risk. And I'm going to take Nicholas Singleton here, the Penn State running back that is fragile but has that receiving upside.
Yeah, just one more thing I wanted to add in about Simpson is there's a lot of teams needing a quarterback that we're seeing, and not a lot happening in this quarterback draft class. So he's somebody that could get an opportunity depending on where he falls on like one of these teams that are like, let's just see. Let's just take a shot. We're throwing darts anyways. Let's just see what the kid's got. I do like your pick here at the 207, Nick Singleton. He was the better back in college there at Penn State. But yeah, like you said, with the broken foot, I really like Katron Allen's vision. But so he ends up falling here quite a bit, and he's someone that could definitely come out and play for a team and be very good and provide something to just boost some stock value if he gets a chance and the opportunity.
So with Simpson, are you saying that these teams are trying to see if the glove fits?
It was a joke.
Huh?
Oh, Dustin.
Well, you did say they were taking a shot on him.
They are. They could. They very well could. Once again, we're doing this pre-draft. It's much harder. You're no guts, no glory league. You're just going to use this as reference, aren't you? Going to understand.
This draft here, you're not even in that draft.
I know. I'm just saying you're using it as reference for yourself. Just like, I know exactly who to go for.
And everybody else in that league.
They better be listening in.
Looking at this draft. And again, this is pre-combine draft, and I suspect we're going to have another draft post-combine, and hopefully we'll go into some later rounds. I think so far this has still been a fun kind of equation here to kind of see what's happening, because we haven't talked about like who our rankings are, what we would do in what situation, and I feel like the board is really starting to evolve.
Yeah. I'm gonna go back to my original hat to pull out of. once again, we're seeing a big theme here. Lots of wide receivers in this draft class. More wide receivers than anything. We saw the guy that was the speedster last year not be super great. But they do have a role, and it also depends on how the team uses him. And I'm going to go ahead and pick Zachariah Branch out of Georgia. He is the speedster. We'll kind of see if he's running the 40 combine, which we'll see. Doesn't really add up to actual football play, but if they know how to use them and they can develop, I mean, that speed can be absolutely brutal. So I'm just going to pick them, because I like fast players.
You know what I don't like, Colton? I don't like players that have an ADOT of 3.
Not wrong.
And in his career, 5 is his ADOT. He had 50 of his 80 receptions at or below the line of scrimmage this past year. This is a player that I don't think can really find his route tree, and it's not a player that I'm wanting to invest a second round pick in. Maybe late 3rd, 4th round pick, but this is a guy, he's going to get drafted well before I feel comfortable drafting him. And I thought this was the player you were going to consider as that Deebo Samuel player and not Chris Bell. And so, because I've seen some mocks, I've heard a lot of people that actually do like Branch, and I thought you were pushing Branch up there to that early 2nd round, and here he is in the back half of the 2nd round, and you're taking your shot here. We don't know exactly the athleticism, but I'm not going to put my eggs in this basket with such a low ADOT at the receiving position.
Yeah, and I haven't looked at the statistics side yet. I haven't really dived deep into all these players' stats and everything. So I'm just kind of going off what I see, and he's fast, man.
Definitely, yeah, he's got some speed, but he doesn't. I don't know how the quarterback situation was for Branch. If that was the reasoning for him having such a low ADOT, I mean, there's a lot of things that go into the equation. There's a lot of variables, and we'll see how does he do with his route tree? Does he look smooth when he's trying to catch the ball? Is he what you call a body catcher? Is he catching it close to his chest? And these are all things that hopefully we'll see this weekend.
All right, down to the last 4 picks.
Boy, the 2-9. Do I want to reach or not? And initially I don't see anybody at the beginning part of the picks here. There's another receiver that looks somewhat interesting, but I think I'm going to go with my tight end 2 here, Colton, at the 2.9, and that's going to be Tanner Kozel out of Houston. I had said about Eli Stowers having the number 1. Now Tanner Kozel being ranked number 2 in the class in regards to yards per reception, and that was at 2.22. He just showed a lot of skills, and he's got some big playability, and this is a guy I want to take a shot on in Dynasty Fantasy Football. And he might be a guy that has to sit a little bit, but I think that the NFL is going to like him, and I think he's going to get drafted maybe in by the 3rd round. So a day 2 prospect.
Can't even find him on Sleeper to add him up there. You are digging on this one. That's incredible.
Can you type his name?
I did. I typed his name, Tanner, Tan. Not on there.
Okay, well, I'm drafting him before the NFL actually, or before the sleeper even has him. Why don't I just fill him in here? I'll put Max Clare in instead. He's my tight end 3, so I'll put Max Clare in.
Incredible, Dustin. That is the definition of scraping the barrel.
I'm not scraping. I really like Tanner Kozel. I think he is a really good tight end, and I think we're going to see him play well and do well at the combine here on Friday. And as I said, I think he's going to be a day 2 pick in the NFL.
All right, you heard it here first. Let's at Sleeper when we release this and tell him to add him in.
Yeah, but Max Clare here instead, because Sleeper doesn't have my guy at the 2.29. I'm not sure if you were going to get Max Clare at all in these next 3 picks or not. I was probably going to wait until the early third round to go for Claire, but he went as early as I think pick 10 in one of the Fantasy Holics early rookie drafts just a week ago. 10 overall, Max Claire.
Crazy. All right, I am going to stick with my theme of the day. And I'm going to go ahead and stick with the wide receiver group, and I'm going to go Jeremy Bernard out of Alabama. He's just been a reliable guy there in Alabama. My goodness, sleeper keeps crashing on me. Just been a reliable guy there in Alabama, and they do have another wide receiver there that kind of eats up all their targets that we'll get to talk about next year. But I think he could be somebody that comes in, could be 2 or 3 for a team, and if the opportunity presents itself, he could absolutely get the opportunity to score some points there. But somebody just taking a shot on that could kind of make the team here, especially getting to the end of the second round. The hit rate at this point is extremely low, and we're grasping at anything that kind of makes them be able to make the team really at this point, and really just kind of have some kind of relevance down the field.
Okay. At the 211, I'm not a Bernard guy, but here at the end of the second round, again, pick your poison. Again, Alabama players tend to get drafted fairly early in the NFL drafts, and there could be other league mates that tend to follow Alabama because they've got a pretty strong following. So I think that's a pretty good pick that you made there, Colten, at the 210. At the 211, I'm going to pick the receiver that I was considering at the 29. And, in retrospect, based on my player not even being available on Sleeper, I probably should have went with this receiver instead. And that's going to be Malachi Fields, another Notre Dame player. He's 6'4", 223 pounds. And he's currently Lance Zierlein's. He's number 45 out of 50 on the big board. And so he's a guy that's going to be projected to be drafted in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft. And he fell all the way down here to the end of the second round.
Yeah, I mean, we could absolutely see everybody start to like their players, wide receivers, tight ends. And this is where kind of digging into the stats in the film kind of really starts to help you, because, you just kind of pick and choose who you're going to take the shot on and use your low percentage dart throws on. If it's the guy you like, take the shot here and everything. Because, I mean, even if he's projected to, in a dynasty dynasty rookie draft to go, early to mid third, and you're like, I don't have him early or mid third, and you like the guy, this is the time. Because, I mean, the hit rate at this point is pretty much about the same. So just reaching for guys, there's no such thing I think truly as like a big reach starting to get to the late second and thirds. So
yep. Well, mine was obviously a reach there at the end of the second. Do you want to go through and say like what picks were who for the first round and leading up to the second round and the last pick in the second round, Colten?
I have the very last pick, and then we'll go through it.
Good.
All right. This is a tough one. We're really starting to struggle here. I've got a couple of people on the board still that they're projected.
So you gotta speak, kind of talk it out with us here at the 212. I can't make a pick anymore. At the 212, like what are you considering here as far as like wide receivers that you're considering? Is there a quarterback in play? Is this where you're looking for maybe that tight end that I don't know if how far up Eli Stowers was or Max Clare or Tanner Kozel were for you, but would this be a spot for any of those players before you jump into like another wide receiver or running back, or are you just sticking with the wide receiver running back position?
I would have taken Stowers right around where you were taking him. I was actually going to take him with the pick right after that, because I also do like him a lot. So I think he'll be off the board in any leagues that you and I are in at that point if we have the chance. So definitely at this point, this is where I'm looking to throw the darts on the running backs and quarterbacks. You know, some of those guys, it's like, if they hit, whatever. If they don't, I mean, I'm picking them at the 212. What did I truly waste at this point? So I'm looking at guys that could possibly, you know, gain value here. So you're looking at, you know, someone that's gained a lot of value, and that's Trinidad Chambliss. I mean, or no, he's going back to school, isn't
He's
he?
going back to
Sorry, I
school.
forgot.
Yeah,
He
he's going
completely
back for his number 6 year.
He's going back, especially though he was like getting hype. So I'm not sure. I forgot that news came out that he was. Um, you know, there is someone I wouldn't be taking the shot on yet, but Carson Beck's still on the board. You know, depending on where he goes. Garrett Nussmeier after the
Is he
Senior
your QB?
Bowl.
Is he your QB3?
Nussmeier would be, I think, above Carson Beck for me. Um,
And
so
at the 212, is that about right where you'd want to have Nussmeier, or would you want to wait a little longer for him?
I would have to let the NFL draft truly tell me. If I'm truly drafting prior, I would go definitely Nussmeier over Beck. You know, if we're sticking to this whole theme of drafting prior, I would go Nussmeier over Beck in my own opinion. I think he showed out at the at pro or at the Senior Bowl and everything well enough to where he might actually get the opportunity, especially on one of these quarterback needy teams, you know. So he's definitely someone I'd pick over Beck, but at this point, I'm really just looking for opportunity to get on there, and I'm not going to go quarterback here. I'm actually going to go a running back here. It might be someone that you don't like. I don't know. I like
At this
once
point,
again.
go for it.
I like that he's an explosive back. And that's Desmond Claiborne out of Wake Forest. I think he has some explosiveness to his game. You know, somebody that could be a change of pace back on a team. You know, he might be a later round drafted guy in running back terms, but we saw some of those guys get some opportunity this year. You know, so if there's opportunity ahead, and you know, depending on the right team, he could absolutely get some chance. And we see the running backs specifically, you know, with all the injuries that happen in the field, we see them gain value a lot easier. You know, people were drafting Jakrowski, Corey Merritt in the late fourth, and then he had the opportunity in front of him, and people were paying first, seconds. So, you know, if someone believes in a running back, I feel like they gain value the quickest. Whereas a quarterback can go out there and he can have a good game and someone's still like, yeah, I still don't really like him that much. Whereas running backs are like, he's got an opportunity. Let's pay for him. So I just feel like running backs, especially right here, have the opportunity to gain value more here.
Yeah, just going back to Nussmeier real quick. I had him up a little higher on my draft board, but then I started to look into hand size, and his hand size is 8 inches, and it reminds me of like a Kenny Pickett with the little hands. And so I have some concerns with Nussmeier's hands, and that's really the main thing that I have concern with him. And then going to Claiborne, I feel like in December, early January, there was some hype that was starting to brew, some smoke that was starting to develop there with Claiborne, where people were showing some interest. And, you know, have you looked at his size, Colten, of how big he is?
I have not actually looked into that.
5'9", 187 pounds. And my concern is he's going to go into the I don't even know if is he going to the combine or not, but what if he weighs in at 175 pounds?
Whew. What did Achan weigh in at?
Like 199?
Say, was he almost 200?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's only one of him.
Yeah, there's only one. I'm not saying he is Devon Achane. I was just kind of thinking of like size comparison. Definitely, it's definitely a concern. Absolutely. I once again, like I said, I haven't quite looked into all the stats and everything. You've obviously dived deeper than I have so far.
I
But
like to
with
dive
him,
deep.
I've just been watching some things pop up on Twitter here and there, and I just did like his explosiveness a lot. It's a fun guy that if he can hit the hole, man, and he hits it hard, and he's gone if he gets the opportunity. But the size is definitely an absolute concern there.
Yeah, I think personally for Claiborne, for me, I'd have to see what he weighs in at, and then maybe making my shot closer to the fourth round than the late second or even third round, just because I think size matters. And then not only that, but Wake Forest, uh, hit the playing competition. Those are things in question, and so I feel like there's just a little bit more flags than what I want to kind of pull out. But I will say I did a mock draft last night for Superflex, and I was looking at the early third round, and that's where I was looking at my QB2. My QB2 still hasn't got taken in these first two rounds, and that's Talon Green. And we talked about him before. He's a guy that reminds me a lot about Anthony Richardson. He doesn't have a very accurate arm, but he's very athletic. He's a very strong runner and rusher here for this class. And the main difference here with Anthony Richardson and Talon Green is, well, I had to pay up to get Anthony Richardson. I remember having to pay 2 firsts and a second to trade up to get Anthony Richardson, only for him to play a few games over the last few years and not really show a lot of development. And the Colts are starting to look elsewhere for options such as Danny Dimes. And Talon Green is a guy that I feel like if you can get him here in the third round, he's a low risk, high reward type of player, and he'll probably sit for a year, maybe 2 years. And when he gets his shot, he'll show off his athleticism. And then you can decide from there what you want to do with him. Do you want to trade maybe for a second? Maybe if he gets a lot of excitement, maybe even a late first round pick. I'm not saying you're going to get a first round pick from this guy, but those are the type of moves that I'm looking to make here in Superflex. And that's also trying to just show you that this quarterback class is not something that I'm overly excited about outside of Mendoza. And I would be looking at the third round for my second quarterback in the class versus the second round.
Yeah, there's still a lot of things that need to shake out here. There's still a lot of time between now and the NFL draft and everything. We'll get some more information on these players during the NFL Combine this weekend, which we have boots on the ground for. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how these players start shaking out and forming, and especially with, as we get closer, these guys are able to somewhat predict the NFL draft board, but it's also really hard to get it exactly right. We see things that are super crazy every year that we are never expecting. So we'll just see.
That's all I had with that.
It was so creepy.
So we see I see a lot of freaky and weird things, and I'm like, oh, I know I've got a drop. I see dead people that I can play in there, and I thought that really just kind of like whoop,
it was
closed
creepy,
it down.
creepy in my ear. Just a whisper. Hopefully you're not listening to this with headphones in. You just got the chills. Little chills in there.
So if you had to chill in the third or fourth round of this rookie draft, and there's a player that hasn't been drafted, but you have some excitement for, like, which player are you looking at in the third and fourth round that we haven't touched on, just to give the viewers one more player to consider and watch here when the Combine hits this weekend?
Couple of definitely one name is to look out for. It's another one of those nice tall players, and that's Ted Hurst out of Georgia State. He is 6'4", has massive hops, a massive catch radius. And they're projected that he could absolutely crush the Combine, especially like his 40 time. And they think he's going to come out faster than what he is. And someone that's tall and quick could certainly be interesting for a team. Big field stretcher, an Alec Pierce type person. So that would definitely be interesting to kind of see how he starts to shake out.
Well, and I'm going to be watching Eli Hendrick from the Navy, the 5'11", 197 player that is basically a Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt archetype that I picked out from the Shrine Bowl. Unfortunately, though, we're going to have to wait and see where Dean Connors goes, because he wasn't invited to the NFL Combine this year. He was the other player that I'd written about. But another running back that I feel like I'm starting to get a little bit more excited about, and I would consider in the third round is Jamari Taylor out of Virginia. He's 5'9", 225 pounds. He basically had 4.8 yards per carry, had over 1,000 yards, 14 touchdowns, 43 catches for 253 yards and a touchdown. And I feel like he's got a nice, strong build, and he's shown the skills to be a receiving back. And I feel like he could be a sleeper. He's probably going to be a guy that's drafted in like the fourth round of the NFL draft. And so he is probably a day 3, but I feel like he's got the build that I'm looking for. And guess what, Colten? That's about all I've got for this show for now.
That's all I got for now. I'm gonna really start diving in once I get these numbers from the combine and start really scouting these rookies.
Yep. One last thing I really like to look for, I guess, looking into the combine is I really like speed scores, Colten, when it comes to the running backs and for the tight ends. It's just showing some athleticism, it's showing some burst. And that's the last little tidbit that I'll have for this episode. And you'll have to tune in to the next. And we can talk a little bit more about how this NFL combine, how it hit, and hopefully it hits well.
Absolutely. I'm super excited to hear about your experience at the combine. Bring us back some good information and bring us back next year's JCM, man.
Yeah, well, yeah, let's do that for sure. And Colten, I don't know if we actually went back to say who the picks were, so let's end the show with who the picks were in the first round and then in the second round.
You are 100% correct. We did not. All right. So at the 101, we got Jeremiah Love, then Carnell Tate, Makai Lemon, Jordan Tyson, Fernando Mendoza, KC Concepcion, Darian Price. Then we have Coleman, Cooper, Kenyon Sadiq, Elijah Surratt, Denzel Boston. If you want to take the round 2, Dustin.
Yep. And then we've got Emmett Johnson, Katron Allen, Eli Stowers, Chris Bell is at the 2-4. At the 2-5, we've got Skylar Bell. At 2-6, we got Ty Simpson out of Alabama. He's the second quarterback off the board. We've got Nick Singleton, the 2-7. We've got Zachariah Branch at the 2-8. We've got Tanner Kozel, a.k.a. Max Clare, because Kozel isn't even on the board here, available on Sleeper yet. Shame on you, Sleeper. And then at the 2-10, we've got Jeremy Bernard, we got Malachi Fields at 2-11, and we've got I thought it was Desmond. They got Demond Claiborne on 2-12.
It is Demond Claiborne.
It is Demond?
Demond Claiborne.
Oh man, I thought it was always Desmond.
I might have also said Desmond. I might have misread it, but it is Demond Claiborne.
Demond Claiborne ends it at the 2-12. And thank you all for listening to the Fantasy Football Healers program. This was our pre-combine rookie draft Superflex. Please hit the like, subscribe button, and don't forget to follow us at FF Healers and at FF Captain 22 on Twitter X.
Salud. Sometimes you just gotta call your shot, man.